Okay, I'm going to open this International Scientific Practical Conference. So I'm Stephen Agaraki, and I'm the founding chairman of the Global Industry Council and the moderator of this opening session of the International Scientific Practical Conference, Smart Government, Science and Technology. So to begin, it's a special honor and privilege to introduce the first Deputy Chairman of the National Info Communications Holding, ZERTI, Ms. Bikesh Kirmangaliva, who will provide special opening remarks for this conference of the Global E-Government Forum. So, Bikesh.
Коллеги, мы бесконечно рады видеть вас на этом форуме. Мы специально хотели, чтобы форум наш отличался от многих других форумов электронного правительства тем, что у него будет еще и научно-практическая часть. То есть мы хотели собрать на форум не только разработчиков системы электронного правительства, но и тех, кто занимается технологиями, разрабатывает, исследует, новые идеи привносит, и чтобы мы смогли с вами подумать, чем же наука может помочь государству, системе госуправления быть более эффективным, более экономичным. Поэтому не случайно вы здесь, и я надеюсь, что наш форум, он станет ежегодным, традиционным, и очень хочется, чтобы наука, образование приобщились к большому такому делу. Вы, наверное, сегодня на открытии видели, что очень большие есть результаты, имидж Казахстана в этом смысле неплохой. И хотелось бы, чтобы каждый из вас нашел свое место в этом огромном проекте, называемое электронное правительство, Smart Governance, и чтобы каждый почувствовал, что те идеи и исследования, которыми он занимается, они практически применимы, и он увидел отдачу, результаты от того, чем он занимается. Я надеюсь, что в эти полтора дня наша конференция сгенерирует очень много идей, появится много коопераций, альянсов, проектов родится между университетами, компаниями и государством. Я желаю нашей конференции быть продуктивной, быть дружественной, быть очень такой, как скажем, инновационной, чтобы мы не зря пригласили сюда наших зарубежных гостей. Я им бесконечно благодарна, что они выделили время, нашли его, во-первых. Во-вторых, действительно приехали поделиться своим опытом, своими знаниями. И я надеюсь, что они тоже об этом не пожалеют. И они действительно увидят в Казахстане хороший рынок, хороших партнеров найдут. И действительно будут опять и опять возвращаться к нам. И мы создадим очень продуктивные альянсы с нашими университетами. И мне кажется, что тема e-government или smart government, она действительно станет очень широкой и общенациональной. Я желаю вам всем успехов, удачи и всего самого доброго. Спасибо.
So, thank you to the Vice Chair for providing an excellent opening. I want to now say it's an honor and privilege to introduce Mr. Damir Shenefetkov. He's Director of the International University of Information Technologies, which is the co-organizer of the conference. Damir's accomplishments are considerable. He is Doctor of Economics, Professor, Academician at the International Informatization Academy in Almaty, Kazakhstan, and the International Telecommunications Academy in Moscow, Russia. Damir has held many leadership positions as a Dean of Faculty, Director of Consulting, Senior Research Fellow at the University of International Business and Vice Rector of Kazakh Academic University. Damir has achieved an impressive array of awards and honors for his considerable and lasting contributions, including state grant of the Best University Teacher, which speaks to me as a former professor, and Medal of the President of the Republic of Kazakhstan. So, Damir.
Thank you very much for inviting me to the very big honor for me to open this conference. Dear participants and guests of the forum, welcome to the Smart Government, Science and Technology, the first international scientific practical conference organized under the auspices of the third Global E-Government Forum in the capital of Kazakhstan, Astana. This event is aimed at exchange experiences among representatives of science and industry. We hope that this conference will become the annual event of convenient platform for discussing and development of scientific approach in the use of information and communication technologies in the system of public administration. This conference will provide an opportunity to representatives of different countries and scientific institutions to discuss the issues and practical approaches in advanced technologies in e-government projects. It's difficult to overestimate the role of ICT in the public sector. Today, we cannot imagine that the work of state bodies, especially in provision of public service without information systems and the internet. The ICTs have allowed us to create a new level of information systems and relations between the state and citizens. During the conference, we shall examine the further stage of the development of the government called Smart Government. Kazakhstan has become an initiator for the first international scientific practical conference, Smart Government, Science and Technology. It's our hope that every year we shall invite well-known scientists and that their research will be published here in the heart of Eurasia. The conference agenda includes some of the most relevant issues on modern world, and we have strived to invite outstanding scientists and leading industry experts to discuss these issues. Big data technologies have been successfully implemented in a variety of industries, including the financial sector, telecommunications, retail, energy, medicine, and urban infrastructure management. They make government more effectiveness and lower costs. Today, attention should be also paid to smart government technologies. Creation is an effective computing infrastructure is impossible without convergent solutions. Convergence is one of the major trends of ICT. It enables shared use of new and existing technologies. Convergent protocols, convergent networks, and finally convergent infrastructure make it possible to implement a model of adaptive IT in live, scalable, and resources shaped by many applications and managed as a service. There will also an opportunity to hear about use of architectural approach in the public sector. Today we have an opportunity to listen to representatives of leading countries in this area, including the United States, South Korea, Singapore, Denmark. Kazakhstan has become a key platform for dialogue among experts from global and regional communities with the aim to further develop e-government in the region. We intend to strengthen our partnerships with the leading countries in development of technologies for e-government. We expect that all members of the first scientific practical conference, Smart Government, Science and Technology, will benefit from their participation. We hope that during these 2 days, we will be a lot of interesting meetings and discussions in the field of science and technology. I wish you fruitful work and constructive discussions.
Okay, so I'm going to do a presentation, and there will be a series of presentations after mine, and then we'll get into a discussion. Okay, so again, I want to thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here, and again, I want to welcome everybody to this very important conference. And in my talk, we're going to explore some general ICT trends and trends in innovation, and we're going to start off with some big questions. So next slide. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to start off with some big questions, and I just want to share something. I was recently in August, I was at the National Science Foundation PACE conference in Washington, D.C., where there was about 20 researchers invited from different parts of America, and talking about research, computing, and so on. And one of the gentlemen that was participating at this PACE workshop was Grady Booch, who's the chief scientist for IBM Research. And Brady came up with these assertions, and I thought they were quite interesting. And he said, the mind is computable. The cosmos itself may be digital. Privacy is a recent illusion. Computing is a moral activity. And then we have the views of Elon Musk and Bill Joy, where they talk about the impending implications of machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. So the reality is that we live in this age where there is going to be unlimited computational resources and connections and pervasive computational thinking. That's the reality that we're going to be in. And whatever the future, it will depend on computing, where everything is recorded and nothing is forgotten, and organizational and geographical boundaries will disappear. So now the big questions from that workshop in Washington, and the big questions from some of these comments here are, is there an impending digital quake where maybe the majority of the companies and the jobs will be gone in 10 years? Or will change dramatically? And what are the economic implications? What is the social impact? What will the world look like? And what are the both intended and but unintended consequences? So some big questions to kind of think about as you go through these next 2 days of seminars and sessions and so on. Okay, so let's now talk about some of the trends that are occurring. You know, we have changing economies and the new 2014 GDP rankings. And in 2014, China overtakes the US, followed by India, and their PPP rankings. So that's a considerable economic change in the world. And the power of technology is illustrated in the market capitalization and percentage occupied by technology in the S&P 500. So in 2014, tech companies accounted for 17.4 trillion of the S&P 500, representing 19% of the total market capitalization. Now these are some trends in ICT usage. There's a lot of data, so we're just going to focus on a few items. For example, for 2014, there's going to be over 81% mobile data growth, driven largely by video. And 4 zettabytes of data, and that's equivalent to 4 billion terabytes. And of this data, 34% is deemed useful, 7% is tagged, and 1% is analyzed, and this is growing somewhere between 40 to 50% per year. So for 2018, there will be over 5 billion internet users due to the wide proliferation of inexpensive, internet-enabled mobile devices. In the work of organizations like Internet.org or high-altitude Facebook drones, I should say, or Google Balloons. And perhaps over 1 billion wearables found in things like new smartwatches, healthcare monitors, and virtual reality glasses, and 20 zettabytes of data understood by something called a never-ending language learner, or NEL, at Carnegie Mellon, which is learning to read the web. There are some added trends in ICT usage, which I think are noteworthy, and we know that big data is one of them. And there's, again, a lot of data on this slide. And we know that mobile, for example, is growing at a tremendous rate, that sensor usage is rising. There's the widespread Internet of Things planetary nervous system, which is equated in some ways to big data, in that it is providing data that is real-time, findable, shareable, transparent, with growing data patterns using data mining and analytics and processing costs falling, cloud usage rising, better user interfaces, and things like machine learning, deep learning, and recommender prediction systems all used in problem solving. This diagram here demonstrates the work on the internet connecting the world's 7 billion population, from contract broadband and prepaid broadband to mobile phone, and then shared access. And then I mentioned this already, these high altitude balloons and drone trials that have been completed by Google and Facebook to try to connect the world's 7 billion. There are growing cyber threats, which is driving security curriculum and certifications. And there's some forecasts that over 95% of networks can be compromised. And this can happen in less than 15 minutes when exposed onto the internet. And mobile is increasingly vulnerable, and there's declining ethical conduct. Automation driven by machine learning and AI is a reality. And examples include Google now producing 100 self-driving car prototypes over the next 12 months. Or the DARPA Robotics Challenge, where robots climb ladders, open doors, use tools, drive vehicles run obstacles, and clamber over rubble. All demonstrated in the December 2013 competition and continuing this year in the finals. And then, as I mentioned, the never-ending language learner, or NEL, or the never-ending image learner, or NEAL. This is at Carnegie Mellon, led by somebody by the name of Tom Mitchell. And in my conversations with him, he's indicated that he's concurrently working on a brain project, where they can forecast what's happening in the brain. And he's going to merge this project with his never-ending language learner project in 5 years, and perhaps in 10 years, this now will understand everything that's on the web. And can you imagine then, it could be used for things like economic analysis, epidemiology, genomics, and so on. And then we have deep learning, led by Andrew Ng, where through machine learning, systems have human-like capabilities. Now, Andrew is on leave from Stanford as the director of their AI lab. He also headed up the Google Brain project and is now head of research for Baidu, the leading search engine out of China. And of course, he's the chairman of Coursera. So let's talk about innovation in education. You've already probably heard of this. We have MOOCs, or massive open online courses, such as with Coursera, offer free courses from over 100 top universities now, with over 7 million students, and edX, funded by MIT and Harvard, with 47 course providers and 2.1 million students. You know, there's the Open University in iTunes U, which has over 65 million courses downloaded. And with Khan Academy, we're 5,500 now microvideo lectures on YouTube, and over 360 million lessons delivered, and 10 million unique visitors per month. You know, at Harvard and Brigham Young, they did a study of innovation. They looked at people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Einstein, and they find that they have common attributes. So we call this the Innovators DNA platform. So there's an online test of feedback to build innovation and for learning the 5 key skills that all disruptive innovators possess, such as questioning, observing, experimenting, associating, and networking. And you may not be aware of this, and I've talked about this at previous conferences, but there's this thing called the Soul Accord, which is growing worldwide, and it's a global mutual recognition program for standards and computing education. ICT must also enable 21st century skills, such as data analysis, information synthesis, and entrepreneurial insight. And I have them listed here. Now here's a matrix. Now thinking has to embrace innovation as possible in every square of this matrix, and not just those shown in yellow. For example, the internet appears as 8, and you notice it's in every cell of the matrix. And the original iPhone is 4, which has not quite as many cells in the matrix. And a smart phone upgrade is a 2 in this matrix. And you notice only 3 cells are shaded. So innovation has to be in many more areas than we are currently doing. Okay, let me now talk about one of the most powerful ICT resources for driving innovation, and that's the digital library using the experiences of the Association of Computing Machinery, or ACM. Now, the ACM is the world's largest scientific, educational, and professional computing association, and they have 1.5 million worldwide users of their digital library. And they have their ACM Learning Center with things like webcasts on big data and other areas, and they're freely available from the top researchers in the world, in videos and books and courses. We also have innovation in healthcare. There is dramatic innovation in healthcare, with healthcare costs accounting up to 17% of GDP. And in the US, the average cost for a consumer over a lifetime of healthcare is $660,000. Now, in some studies, it's shown that 52% of consumers want web tools. And 62% of consumers want to communicate their concerns via email. And as a result, there's a rapid rise in devices such as smart wearables and mHealth, or mobile health, which seeks to improve an individual's health by continually monitoring status, rapidly diagnosing medical conditions, recognizing behaviors, and delivering just-in-time interventions, all through the mobile environment. And an example is telemedicine, where Curely is creating a healthcare marketplace, and Liberate, which is providing for improved prescription compliance. And then, of course, there's research innovation areas such as optogenetics and epigenetics. So what about innovation and entrepreneurship? Illustrating Trends is Facebook's over $160 billion valuation, and their acquisitions this year of WhatsApp for $19 billion, Oculus Rift for $3 billion, and their 2012 $1 billion acquisition of Instagram, a company with only 13 employees and that was only in existence for 18 months. And another example is Alibaba's recent IPO, history's largest, raising $25 billion and valuing the company bigger than most US companies. And then auto models include Startup Genome, which is a startup success framework based upon data from over 80,000 startups, Compass, which is a free benchmarking tool. And then we have startup thought leaders such as Steve Blank with customer development, Eric Ries with Lean Startup, and Alexander Osterwalder with his business model Canvas. And there is also this thing called the Jumpstarter Business Startups, which is the US Jobs Act, which supports regulated crowdfunding. Now, in crowdfunding, investors contribute small amounts of capital to projects. And then we have cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin having 5 million wallets, and the $100 billion crowdfunding marketplace with 3 models: reward and donation, debt and equity, and biomimicry, where technology mimics biology to provide usable solutions. Okay, let's now talk about some trends in licensing. Licensing, which is registration and regulation, are making progress with software engineering, and in 2013, the critical mass of 10 US states is reached for regulation to begin. In 2014, 40 states now support regulation, and there's movement internationally. Other certification efforts include the Department of Defense in the US has certain computer security positions to be certified following the ISO 17024 standard. This is a shift towards regulation. We have FEPL, the Federation of Enterprise Architecture Professional Organization, which also has Department of Defense support, and also support from the CIOs and the federal CIOs, state CIOs in the US government. And they're indicating that they're going to provide enterprise architecture certification perhaps as soon as 2016. Now, FEPL has released their enterprise architecture concepts paper in 2013 and their career path paper in 2014. And of course, there's professional standards legislation now in Australia. So other efforts. In 2014, the US IT Skills Draft Bill, which involves certifications and competencies. I just received this today and it's completed, the draft. The European Commission, Pan-European ICT Body of Knowledge. Or and this is somewhat being led by Japan, the ISO 24773 upgrade, which provides for a new conformance or accreditation service of certifying schemes in software and systems engineering. And this thing called IPIP IP3, which is creating a global accreditation standard for mutual recognition of skills and competencies, education, and certifications. So we've explored ICT trends and general trends in innovation. I asked some big questions at the beginning. What are the implications? What's the social impact? What is the economic impact? What is the impact of artificial intelligence? Where is it all going to go? How is it going to affect industry and business? Now, to further help you, I want to point out the resources link, which has discussions with over 500 experts. So again, thank you for allowing me to share some of my insights with you. And now I'm going to introduce the next speaker. So thank you. Okay, I want to introduce Mr. Quaneshbek Yesekeyev, who's the chairman of the management board of Kazakh Telecom. Chairman Yesekeyev has an impressive history of accomplishments with senior leadership positions. Some of the past roles include Deputy Chairman of the Agency of the Republic of